Hey everybody, welcome back to Mary Bird's Backyard Garden. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mary.
And we're here with another episode in the garden. What do you think, Mary?
Fabulous episode coming your way.
Whoa! I like to hear that. You got lots of good stuff?
Oh, heaps. No.
Heaps and heaps?
Heaps and heaps.
Well, it's been you were out there this week. You've been out there doing some stuff.
It is really gearing up to be a busy gardening time of the year.
Yeah, I see that. I can tell.
Yeah.
So we have to start with Mary. What's new in the garden?
A lot.
What?
Right? A lot. A lot is new in the garden.
Okay.
Coming off of those really hot days at the end of summer when we didn't do much outside. Now we're getting to have longer time.
We have the hot days of fall. So that's...
We have the hot days of fall. They are hot. They're really difficult to do things in. Maybe they're more humid a little bit. I can't figure that out. But
are we like the typical older people who talk about the weather?
I mean, yes.
Jeez.
Our kids make fun of us all the time.
We have now hit our stride. I guess that's our thing now.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I'm loving heading into this good time of year.
Okay.
I love it. All right. Do you have any topics that you're interested in telling about what's new?
Well, I'm going to say I was out taking some photos in the front yard yesterday, I believe, because the bumblebees are just going crazy out there. And so I got my nice camera with the long lens, and I was going to take some close-up pictures of the bumblebees, which I did. And then out of the corner of my eye, I saw the roadrunner. He was on our front lawn, and I was like, wow, okay. I can't believe it. I actually have my camera, not an iPhone, because I've tried with the iPhone. They just don't come out. And so I turned my camera, and I was able to get about 6 or 7 pictures of him. He wasn't scared. He was kind of just there, kind of walked in front of me, was walking, looking around, and I was trying not to move. He passed me by, and then he went across the street to somebody else's yard.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that was actually really cool, because every other time I've seen him, I've had my phone, and he's generally a little bit too far away. And I did have a longer lens on too, so I was able to get him up, some good pictures of him.
You even got the feathers that are upright on the top of his head.
Yeah, I did. And we'll put one of those out on the blog for everybody to take a look at. But it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just, amazing to be able to see him out there. So that was a lucky thing.
How far away do you think he was?
He was
from you.
Not even 10 yards.
That's
not
crazy.
Even 10 yards. I was literally, I just happened, I don't even know why. I was facing the house, taking pictures in the front garden of the bees, and just out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's him! It's the Roadrunner, my favorite guy."
Oh,
I love seeing the Roadrunner.
Love him.
He's such a cool dude. He just kind of does his due.
He looks a lot like you, actually.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but
that's wonderful.
I'll take it as a compliment. But very neat. I got to spend, I don't know, a couple minutes with him. He wasn't there long, but he didn't run off either. So. That was my big news. That, and there's just millions of bumblebees out there. We talked about bumblebees last week, but there's a million of them out there on the flowers, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, all the flowers are flushing out with their fall blooms right now, and the pollinators are just going crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's very lively, and we put some bird seed out. We had some that were covered with a vine that we were letting grow because it was nice, but the vine is kind of run its course.
A morning glory.
A morning glory.
And they are an annual, so it's going to die now as it gets towards cold weather.
And so it had one covered, but then you took it down. Yeah, and so we put some in there. So I've seen some cardinals now and some other birds coming through. So
I did see a mama cardinal.
Yeah.
While I was out working in the garden, and I just stopped for a few minutes and watched her. And I love the call that they make. Is it like a cheap, cheap, cheap sort of call?
Yeah.
And yeah,
It was
she was
really,
great.
really cool. Kind of stealing my thunder for the Jeff's Corner.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, you're not. We can do it right.
I'm stepping
basically,
on your toes.
No, I was going to say last week I had talked about photography, and I just wanted to kind of reiterate that literally could sit in our yard and take pictures and do whatever it is we want to do. We have everything right here. I mean, it's kind of cool. I was almost thinking about doing a kind of a week in the garden or something.
I do love
photo
that.
little essay, because there's a lot of stuff out there.
I think that would be excellent.
Okay.
I would champion that.
Well, I'm going to put it on the list.
Cool.
All right.
I love it.
Well, that's all I had.
That's a lot.
What do you got?
I mean, that is really extra special that the
Roadrunner was
came.
really cool.
Mm-hmm. And we were out standing in the front yard, and you had been to the grocery store and were unloading the groceries. And I said, Jeff, stop. Look over your shoulder. And there had to be a butterfly that had to be at least, the wings had to be like butterfly. 6 inches big,
Yeah.
It was huge.
Yeah,
I've never seen one that
it's very
big
lively
before.
in the garden right now. So it's pretty cool as we are into fall now.
I love that. And so last week we did our podcast on Kalanchoe's. Or Kalanchoe. Yeah, I'm going to call it that.
Kalanchoe.
Kalanchoe. Anyways, so I found a online distributor of these succulents, and it's Mountain Crest Gardens, and I placed an order because I really wanted to get that flower dust Kalanchoe, and they had them in stock. And so I got several varieties, and we were able to plant up our fireplace ledge right now. Very pretty, and lots of Kalanchoes. And this place had a really big selection. So, and I was so happy with the way they arrived. And, I haven't tried ordering online like that before. But everything arrived very nicely packaged and healthy. And I ended up with another one that I really am in love with called the Desert Sunrise. It's a Kalanchoe humulus, and they kind of grow in a tighter rosette, and they have these inky spots, but they don't have furry leaves. They have a smoother leaf. So I'm really excited to see how those are going to turn out.
And that's cool. And they came USPS in a box, which we were kind of wondering, is that going to be okay? And they were fine. They were packed well, and they all came very much alive, and everything looked good.
I just chose the ground shipping, the cheapest ground shipping, and that's how they came. And it worked out great.
Yeah, they look good. And you got them all planted up into some little planters for the fireplace. And now we have outdoors indoors is what I said, I believe. Not indoors out. We have outdoors indoors now.
Well, I chose some blue, kind of like a marine sort of blue.
Yeah, they look
color.
good.
I don't know. Planters. I think it does look nice. We'll have to put a picture on the blog.
Yeah, we'll throw a picture out there.
The other thing I have is that we have grown an olive tree on our back porch in a container for about 2 years now, and it has not been very happy in that container, I have to say. So either it's too wet or it's too dry. I can't figure out which one, but I got a wild hair, and I decided it was going in the ground. And today you came out into the backyard. Well, you know what happened? This is unusual. This has not happened to me before. But I was working back there just fine in the garden. I was walking all over the little garden area, and I decided where I wanted the tree. And I dug down, and I'm very excited because our topsoil back there has really deepened, and I could get the entire shovel head down into the topsoil these days. Well, I was digging down, and I was creating a hole about the right size for this olive tree, and at the bottom of the hole, I put the shovel in, and all of a sudden this huge tidal wave of fire ants poured out of the soil.
Wow.
And usually I find them at the surface.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever found them like deep underground.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so luckily, because everybody's been having a difficulty with fire ants, and so we have been using a product called Fertilome. Come and get it. And it's got spinosad in it as the control agent. I grabbed it, and you're not really supposed to have a disturbed mound when you put it down, but I didn't care. I did it this time. I put it right down in there, and that really surprised me.
Wow, it was a pretty deep hole. I'm surprised.
They just came out of there before I could even blink. They had covered the shovel.
Wow.
Surprise,
they're pretty aggressive.
They're kind of wicked. But anyway, this product will go in there, and what it does is it's a bait, and so the ants will feed on it, and they'll take it down into the colony, and eventually, hopefully, the queen will eat it, and then the colony will die out.
Wow.
And the fire ants are very hard to...
They're hard to get rid of.
To work with. And they blow in, they travel.
They move. They're movers. They move from our yard to their yard and our yard back. Yeah, they are tough.
So that's what happened today.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly. But we got the olive tree in, and I think he's going to be very happy back there.
I think he got too much sometimes because it was on our deck, so we had a little thing under it. Sometimes I think that water stood in it too long sometimes, and other times it just didn't have any. So maybe
its feet, it didn't like
it had wet feet. I think it had wet feet. We call it in the gardening world wet feet.
I was happy to notice that it didn't seem to have any rotted roots when I pulled it out.
No rotted roots, wet feet.
But...
Okay.
You probably are correct. Maybe it just didn't have enough space or something. It wanted more.
It still looks pretty good. So you got it planted. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
And we'll have olives then.
Maybe.
No? Okay.
I think it might be an Arbequina olive tree.
Okay.
And Texas is a growing olive region.
We do. We are all olivey. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out. All right. So I think that's what I have for what's new. That's all you had for what's new in the garden? Okay. Thought maybe you'd have more. Well, I could come up with some more. No, that's okay. We'll leave it at that. All right. So then we're going to move into our next section, and which is I know you're going to talk about, before you do that, Mary. Yes. I got to do this. Okay. We're going into Mary's next section. I really like messing with those things. Okay, go ahead. I know, you're having the best time with this equipment. I do. I love the equipment. All right, so what are we going to talk about? That's why you're my tech guy, my infrastructure guy. There you go. Right now, it's fall. It's time to enjoy the weather. It's time to get outside. Just really enjoy ourselves. But in the back of our minds as gardeners, it's also time to keep in mind that cold weather will be coming at some point. It will get here. True. And so this is good to begin to gather a few things that are going to help you in the garden for the cold weather. And that way you could do a little at a time, and you don't have to rush out to the store and, go too crazy all at the same time. So
if you look around your yard and you know that there are some things that you would like to protect from the hard frosts, which typically are going to occur for us towards the end of November. Lately, we've actually gone into December before we've had a hard frost. But I used to say it was November 16th, but I do believe it's been pushed back now till in November 20 something, 25th or something like that, right around Thanksgiving perhaps. And so really, I don't anticipate having a good hard frost at that time. It'll probably just be your first good cold snap. But if there are things that you want to protect, begin to gather your winter blanketing type material. And that could be anything except plastic. You don't want to use plastic because it doesn't really insulate as well.
What do you use then?
You could use old bed sheets, old bed covers,
I see people do it with plastic. So the plastic stuff is that's a no-go, huh? I mean, a lot of people do use plastic.
Well, they do use plastic. And the other thing is they wrap it tight around the trunk. That's just going to create even colder conditions. And you could create an air pocket if it's not touching the plant and it goes all the way to the ground. And then if you will kind of put some covering over your plant, you're going to create a much more protective environment.
Okay.
Because it will block the wind. But if it's the only thing you have wrapped up around your plant, it's going to transfer the cold.
Okay. Good.
More easily.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they do sell a lot of winter fleece covers specifically for plants in the stores and things like that. So just begin to stock up. Usually, Jeff and I do not cover hardly any of our plants. And we've gotten by through a really, really bad freeze. And things have been good. Things have come back.
Pretty rare for it to get too crazy here.
Yes. You do want to keep in mind that if the weather's going to drop, you kind of want to give things a good drink. If you know ahead of time, like in general, the end of November, you know that it's going to probably hit a cold snap. So give everything a nice big drink before then, and that'll help it not come through the frost as hard. And so what else is there that you want to get ready for? Oh my gosh, there's so many things that you could grow here as far as veggies. Lettuce, spinach, Swiss chard. I think you love Swiss chard, actually.
Okay.
Broccoli, kale, cabbage, all of those kind of veggies are super through our winters. And then, pansy, snapdragons, violas, Johnny Jump Up.
Johnny Jump Ups.
I love a good Johnny Jump Up.
I love the names of these things. Okay.
Oh, and right now, while we're coming into the good, nice weather, it's a good time to either order your spring bulbs and get them shipped to you, or you could start planting. I purchased some spider lilies while I was at the garden center the other day, and I'm going to be planting those this week.
Okay.
It's a good time to do that.
Nice.
So, as we're talking about really good things to grow in the wintertime and that it is coming into the fall season, it's perfect time to plant shrubs and trees right now so they could get their roots established before we do hit that frost, and they don't have to suffer through the heat right away while they're very young. One plant that is particularly good evergreen for our area is the Burford Holly. And I have a neighbor, And she always leans over the fence, and she wants something that'll be pretty through the winter and that will keep its leaves and maintain a beautiful look. And the Burford Holly is probably a really good choice for her. They're very, very well adapted to our area. They grow on our calciferous soils very nicely.
Okay.
And as you think about a holly, they always have sharp leaves. But the Burford Holly is different because it only has one sharp prickly at the end. It doesn't mean it's not going to be, it's not as prickly.
Mm-hmm.
It still has, you still want to take caution, but it's not going to be as bad.
And that's the one we have in the front, right?
We have had those growing for the whole time we've lived here. It's a very long-lived plant, a very long-lived shrub. You can grow it up into a small tree. I think we have the dwarf Burford Holly, and that's probably going to be 4 feet tall. And I think they could get 3 to 4 feet wide.
Yeah, they're
or
pretty.
more.
They're kind of close. So you have to remind me. Did we plant those, or were they?
We did not.
They were here. Okay,
They
the builder
were
planted those.
They came with the house.
Came with the house. Okay.
So they're beautiful because they have a really dark, glossy leaf to them. Oh, when they bloom, of course, our favorite pollinators just swarm the whole plant. And then they get these beautiful, gorgeous red berries that the birds
love
feast
those.
on them.
Because those are the ones that are right outside my office, right?
Yes.
The windows. I know, and I've noticed actually and I don't think they're quite red, but the birds have been coming in. I'm seeing them a lot more coming in into those hollies now.
Yes.
So
I have seen some of the berries really becoming quite red.
So they're getting it. I've definitely seen the last week or so, I've seen more birds kind of entering into that domain, as I'll call it. Well,
during that really bad frost we had, was that in 21?
Maybe.
Can't remember
somewhere around there.
quite right now.
21, 22.
We lost all power in. I mean, it was a very it was just an ice storm. Well, what happened was Jeff had his camera handy, and there was a cedar waxwing that came into our Burford Hollies. You got the most beautiful picture of that bird feasting on those red berries.
Yep.
That was great.
Yeah, no, they were all over that thing.
All the background was white behind it. That was beautiful.
We don't see that much in Texas, so
no,
it was kind of fun to have.
We don't ever see that. But so the Burford Holly is not a native plant, but it's so very well adapted to our climate, and it's a tough, hardy individual. According to Neil Sperry, the Burford Holly came from a seed of the Chinese horned holly called Ilex cornuta. It was sent by the National Arboretum to T.W. Burford. And this is way, way back in the early 1900s. And he began to grow them, and then unexpectedly, as they were taking their cuttings and so forth and propagating more, some of the plants ended up being smaller than the originals, which is how we got the dwarf Burford Holly, and that's how they are propagated today to come onto the market for us. And so a regular Burford Holly now, it can probably get 10 to 15 feet tall.
Wow.
You can prune it to where it would be more or less a tree form. And also, we have a holly called the Nellie R. Stevens holly, and I do believe that it is connected to the Burford Holly. And so that tree also grows quite big. We have one of those in our yard, and it'll get like 15.
Where is this one at?
On the north side of our home.
Okay.
In front of the little gate we have so the dogs can't run up and bark at people.
Okay.
Usually these are hardy from zones 7 to 9. And, the dwarf Burford Holly is even really nice growing in a container. So if you were growing it in a container, I would probably, have it grow in zone 9. You could leave it out all winter, probably. Really, I have heard from one of the people that I was reading about that it does well in zone 10 even. So depending probably on if you have it in shade or sun or how you have it planted. And it is, like I said, an evergreen. And really, this plant is a plant it and almost forget it type.
We haven't done. Plant. I mean, I think all we've done is trim them, right?
We've trimmed them.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have a wide disease problem. They're very, you need to give it water while it's developing its root system. But once it's established, like ours is right now, it does fine with just your basic watering. You don't really have to baby it at all. I do come through. One thing is it might suffer from chlorosis on our limestone soils. Okay. It can get low in iron.
Oh, okay.
So I always make sure that I give it food that's specifically geared for acid-loving plants, and that will help it to have a little bit more iron available. And really the microbes have to help it create the availability for the iron. But you want to look for a good organic food like that. If you live in East Texas, over that way, probably won't have that problem. It'll probably do quite well in a more acid environment. You can, one of the things in the winter that you might look out for is a insect called a scale. And they're little insects that lay and they form this pattern that looks like fish scales, sort of. And so what you want to do about that is use what's called horticultural oil. And I think I've even talked on here before that I went out and used olive oil because I couldn't get to the store and I wanted to put it on some crepe myrtle that we had in the backyard. And so I actually mixed up some olive oil before I could get the horticultural oil. And that seemed to help.
Work.
It seemed to work really well.
Yeah.
So all you're trying to do is smother the insect so it can't keep growing and living. Okay. And that really in the winter, that's about all you need to look for.
I like plants. Them. They're really nice, and they're not like. It seems like this year is the first year I've kind of really noticed it growing. It's kind of filled out in the front. What do we have? Like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that.
We do.
This year I've noticed that they've more filled out. They're starting to grow wider. Yes. And they're starting to get a little taller. But they're up until then they're fairly slower growers, I think, right?
They're moderately growers. Anytime that you put in new plants, you always follow the adage, the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, and the third year they leap.
I'm going to go straight to year 3.
You want to go straight to year 3.
Yes.
But, this year I did pay more attention to having more biological inputs into the soil And whenever I call it fertilizer. I guess you could call it fertilizer. I tried to really hone in on it being an organic amendment to the soil. But I had anticipated doing a different watering structure, but I never got around to it. And we did have more water. We had more rain this early in the summer.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that could
Maybe
be, you could be seeing that.
Nice, all right. I'm a year 3 guy. I'm a leaper. I don't want to go through the growth.
One thing is that some of them have been growing kind of close to our crepe myrtle, which I think could have been drinking a lot more of the water it was getting. But I think they're beginning to adjust now, and they're kind of playing well together.
Okay.
So we'll keep an eye on it for the future.
It's looking good. It's looking good.
Really, through the winter months for this particular plant, you don't have to worry so much about protecting it. If it is a very young baby, I would cover it probably. But as it becomes a mature plant, we don't cover ours.
No, they've done well.
They have done well. Yeah. And of course, you don't want to apply any type of fertilizer during the winter. You want to go spring, early summer, and then let it manufacture its own food, you know, really. And it does like to be in full sun. Our neighbors do have some that the tops of them are in full sun. They're planted behind some other plants, and so they've done pretty well, but they've gotten a leggy, and then the tops have flushed out. So, I mean, you could do that too. I mean,
leggy,
it depends
wet feet. I love this. I love this plant talk
that you would like.
Okay.
And actually, one thing that kind of interests me is taking a Burford Holly and creating a larger sort of topiary out of it, trimming it into a shape and keeping it in a container.
I remember you talked about that a while back. I remember that.
Yeah. I do have 2 small topiaries that we have been growing, but I think the Burford Holly would be a fun one to try.
Okay.
And that, in a nutshell, is your Burford Holly.
Mr. Burford Holly.
Mr. Burford Holly.
Can
you think of any questions that you might?
I don't think I have any questions.
No, not at this time.
I think you've answered all my questions about the Burford.
The
Leggy,
Burford
wet
Holly.
feet, leaps, week 3, year 3, they're leapers.
They're leaping now, I think.
I need to make a little vocabulary for all the plant talk. I know all the sports talk, so now I got to get like the plant talk down.
Yes, you do.
There you go. I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. I don't have any. No, I did not have any questions on the Burford Holly.
On the Burford Holly.
What else you got?
Just very excited about coming up this new season, new growing season. I'm ready to plant up our little raised bed gardens that we've got. I did put in some Swiss chard already. That's pretty good for right now. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. The birds have come in. I planted 3 pepper plants. The birds have kind of come in and just eaten everything.
And
the leaves,
they thank you. They thank you for feeding.
Wow. But they've left the tomatoes alone.
As I would.
Yes, I know.
I'm just playing.
That's so funny.
It is. That is funny. Well, I put the bird food out. Maybe they'll go for that instead now.
I think they will.
We'll see.
Yeah.
See how that works out. All right.
Oh, the puppies have been enjoying the garden too. So
they have. It's cooler out. They're very spoiled. They hate the sun, so they're very happy when it gets cooler. They're a lot more active.
They are,
as I would say.
Oh, that does remind me. The other day we were out in the backyard, and the dragonflies have been so abundant here lately. And our one Boykin Spaniel, his name is Gilder. whenever he is in the backyard and the dragonflies are fluttering overhead, he leaps. He leaps taller than I am.
He does. I've got to get some video of that, because that is actually an amazing and fun thing to watch. Our female dog, Brooke, she's not much of a jumper, but Gilder, he can jump like a really high distance, and he tries to get the dragonflies when they go by.
He loves it.
So I got to get a video of that, because that's
wow.
That's really cool to watch.
He could leap right up and just.
Yeah,
he could touch the top of your head if he wanted to.
He can. And they're not big dogs,
but
he can get up there pretty high.
Very fun.
Yeah, we'll try and capture that. I got to get that on video.
They're excellent fun.
Do that. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary.
Oh, thank you, Jeff.
The Burford Holly, thanks you. I would just kind of encourage everybody again, as part of gardening, do some other stuff. They take some pictures, have fun with the garden.
Absolutely.
Make sure it's not all work. You're getting your exercise while you're out there, but make sure you have some fun with it too.
And remember that this coming into October is the perfect time to start planting any of your shrubs and trees and some of your perennials that you want to get established before cold weather. So I encourage people to do that. Look around.
Yeah.
See any holes that you might like to fill and find a plant for it.
I know we will be. All right, everyone. Hey, again, thank you guys for joining us. We are a weekly podcast, and we appreciate you guys joining us every week. Hear what we have to say, and
we certainly do.
Follow us on our journey, as we say. So we shall see you next week. Mary, any closing comments?
I just would like to wish everyone happy gardening.
Happy gardening.
Happy gardening.
Okay, and we'll see you guys next week. Same place.
Same time.
Same time. Bye.